Greetings and salutations, one and all. Welcome to another week of the Siege of Middenheim. I believe it's week number... You know what? I'm just going to look it up before I say anything stupid. Because this is what I do every time. I just forget, and then I have to go look it up, and then it's all confusing, etc., etc. Welcome to week number 7 of the Siege of Middenheim. I'm glad you all could be here. Going to be churning out some awesome stuff today. We have some battles to resolve and perhaps a boss to face, and so that will all be very exciting, and I'm excited to get into it. It appears we are still waiting for a couple of players to arrive. Looks like namely Dalton and Liam, who will arrive, I'm sure, shortly. But in the meantime, let's see who is here, and let's check in with them and see how they have been. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Jackson, it is good to hear your lovely voice, sir. I'm glad that you could be.
Alright.
How's your life been? Let's talk about it.
It's been good.
Good.
I just got the offer letter from my job right after college.
Is it the India thing?
No, that's an exchange program. That's just, it's for abroad for school. This is like, this works as I signed this, and I basically signed up for the training camp in summer. And then after graduate school, I go to work for them.
Cool. Well, I guess congratulations are in order.
Yeah, speaking of which, it's Amazon, because I realized I never mentioned who it was.
Oh, well, that's definitely a good company to be getting involved with, obviously. Yeah, certainly. Congratulations. That's good to hear. What are you eating?
Subway. I'm on a diet.
I'm not sure Subway is a good option then, if we're being fair.
That's my cheat meal.
It's better than most of the other choices.
You're not wrong.
Also, this is my cheat meal.
Oh, okay.
Because you're supposed to eat one cheat meal per week so that your body doesn't go into starvation mode. Right,
because when it goes into starvation, you begin storing fat.
Yeah, and yeah. Other than that, I bought 2 games this week, and I beat one of them, Evil Within 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great game. Just was a little bit unsatisfied with how epic the ending was, and also
you
the
mean
link.
How lack of epic the ending was?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
It's just, it has a lot to live up to with how amazing the ending was in the first one.
Yeah.
Where you literally get on a turret and shoot down a gigantic monster.
Yeah.
Then you get impaled on something, and then you're like, fuck that, and just get up and get back on the fucking turret.
Yeah.
No, it was a good game. There was another thing, it was 15 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like a 15-hour game shouldn't be worth $60.
Agreed.
It should be at most $40.
Agreed.
So I kind of felt a little bit gypped there. Thankfully, though, I have another game already on my PS4. It just installed. South Park Fractured Butthole.
Have you played the first one?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because you don't need to have played the first one, but I've played all the way through the first one twice now. I haven't played the second one yet, but I have watched basically like 90% of a playthrough of it.
I can't do that. I can't watch a playthrough if I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, the thing with the South Park game is I don't think that it's one of those games where like spoilers matter, because it's so fucking ridiculous anyway that, you know, even if you see what's happening, you're just like, yeah, okay, that's a thing. It's South Park.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. I don't want the jokes to be old to me.
Yeah, sure. I understand. It's dumb humor, so it just kind of like leaks out of my brain. It's what I use to make space for everything else after it's in there. Yeah. So eventually I'll forget it and probably play through it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of callbacks to the first game, and it is a continued story. at least your character, like you as a person in South Park, is continued from the previous game.
And I remember, God, that fucking first one though. That was a trip.
Yeah, I think you'll really like this one though.
Yeah, I hope so.
I've already told him to be black. Just it's so much better.
The hardest difficulty, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Is that whenever I make a character, I always want to try to make it look like myself.
Oh yeah, I think subconsciously a lot of us do that when we play games.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Skyrim. I'm like, I look in the mirror whenever I fucking pick that up again.
Dude, it's even hard for me to play like non-humans if I have an option sometimes.
I feel that way too a lot, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'll do that. I'll go be a black dude, but
honestly, the difference is the combat. Well, yeah. So the combat difficulty is separate from the game difficulty. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so like you can crank the combat difficulty up, but play as whatever you want.
Yeah, no, but like basically from what I've seen is just that I think the exact quote from Carbon is, "Oh no, this won't affect combat. It'll just affect every single other aspect of your life."
Yeah, basically. There's like references in the game and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. You'll have a good time. Well, that's fantastic. Will, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Finally got a haircut, so I no longer have the makings of was essentially becoming a mullet.
Okay, so now confirmed he's not Jon Snow. Everybody cross that name off your bingo list.
Yes.
We will continue on with the rest of the list at a later
I
date.
actually once had a mullet.
That does not surprise me, even in the slightest.
Things this week. Because I finished binge watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm now on House of Cards.
Oh my god, have you never seen House of Cards?
That is a weird choice of things to swap between.
I know, yeah, but
wait, you've never seen it? Oh god, you're in for some good stuff. Now, I will warn you, brush up on your American government politics, because there are definitely some things that if you're not like familiar with the way the systems work, you will be lost a little bit.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure that's happened already a couple of times, like when they're like, because you probably just started, right? So he's the majority whip, right?
Yeah.
So you probably have no idea what that is, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
No idea, but...
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that not a finished thing?
Oh god.
I will say, the last season of House of Cards is kind of garbage.
I was just gonna say, watch the first 2 seasons and then pretend the rest of it doesn't exist. That's my humble opinion.
It devolves into madness, I think, is the only way to describe it.
Sure.
It's kind of it's obviously following the life, right, of the protagonist. As he devolves into madness, so does the show. And I think that's where a lot of people, like, where it gets worse, because it's much more compelling in the earlier parts, up until, I wouldn't even say the start of Season 3. Start of Season 3 was pretty dope. But towards the end of Season 3, then it definitely wanes off.
Okay, good to know.
But struggle through it, because it is worth the watch, even though it isn't as good as the first parts.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I feel kind of the same way about Breaking Bad. Like,
I think a lot of people do. I think Walking Dead is the same way for a lot of people. Yeah. For sure. Well, that's exciting. I can't wait. I need reports next week, because that is literally one of my favorite shows that's ever been made. So I can't wait for you to run into all of the absolute insanity. Like, the almost like true to life, where you're thinking to yourself, this might actually happen. Like, this might actually be things that are going on that I don't know about. Is one of the best parts about that show. Yeah, it's really
I'll
good.
keep you updated.
Good. Anything else?
No, that's it for me. It's been pretty just general slog the rest of the time. So
fantastic. Brian, hello.
Hi.
How have you been? What's been going on in your life?
Well, as we can see by the Discord chat, I have been followed by this ravenous orc, and my Pokemon are killing
Orcamons, is what I've been calling them.
I have spent all of my life on this.
Yeah.
Just absolutely all of it. And
for those that are not in the loop, Shadow of War, the new Warner Brothers Lord of the Rings game came out, and it's well crafted. It's a very good game. It is there are problems with it. I will admit that, yes, but if you are into, in fact, it plays a lot like The Witcher. To be perfectly fair,
it does. Witcher and Batman combined.
Yeah, it's probably like a cross between. Yeah, so it's a cross between The Witcher being a little less open world than The Witcher is, but definitely being a lot like Batman. Like the combat is almost Batman to a T.
I think it's the same company. That's probably why.
Well, yeah, they're both WB, right? Like,
yeah.
But the Batman, the that combat system is great anyway. So why wouldn't you use it?
Real well with swords too.
Yeah, and it's great for that particular setting, and yeah, just the stories. Like, I think the way that I mentioned it earlier is the level of emotion, be it good or bad, that I experienced in that game, I probably haven't felt since I played probably the first run through of Divinity, the original Divinity. Like that's the kind of level of emotional experience that I get out of that game.
Yeah.
So it's very, 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 very good. Highly recommend.
Did you hear about the people that were pissed because there's orc slavery?
Yes, I did hear about that, yes. And to them I say it's Lord of the Rings, get used to it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no
do you even know what they are? Because, I hate it when people apply our version of thinking, because yes, slavery is terrible. We've mentioned to Jackson hundreds of times, perhaps. He's not allowed to own people.
But it's
But
not even like...
I haven't seen the fucking law yet. You haven't shown it to me. So until then, I'm assuming that's all right.
I mean, do you mean real world or like...
I mean D&D
Empire.
world. Yeah, Empire.
Okay, that I can't help you on.
I'm gonna make a document just for you, Jackson. I'm gonna make a document just for you. Hand out, just so you can see it.
But I also want the opinion of indentured servitude.
Okay.
So
I will let you know.
Just real quick, Jordan.
Yes.
My favorite thing that's happened in the game so far, which is a good example of how this game works. I killed a guy. He got resurrected and became a war chief. I went to go and kill him. I got ambushed by this level 51 orc. It was an assassin named Borg the Surgeon. I couldn't capture him at the time, so I shamed him. What happens? He goes crazy the first time I shame him. To the point where all he says is meat. Meat, 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 meat.
Yeah. Have you gotten the lumpy bumpy dude yet?
Oh yes. Yeah. They're fun. So I go and try and capture this guy named Meat, because he still has really good stats. And I shame him again, because he's still too high level, and he drops down to level 1.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That was great. Yeah, it was fantastic. And then I had to kill him, because he was garbage.
Right, because you can't use him at that point. He's totally useless.
Yep. He looked really cool, too. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, definitely my favorite part actually occurred last night as I was playing. My favorite part with the orcs, because I actually really enjoy the kind of the new canon, or it's not even canon, the new lore, the like head canon that they're bringing into it. I really, really like it, even in a lot of parts better than the original Lord of the Rings lore. But regardless of that, the thing that happened to me yesterday was I had a very similar situation where the leader of the outpost, right? So the overlord, the big boss guy at the end of a zone that you have to go kill. He was a legendary, because they have like rarity ranks, right, to make them better or worse. He was a legendary, and he had really, really good stats, and he was pretty awesome. So I was like, okay, well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna, instead of killing him, I'm gonna there's a mechanic to shame the enemy, and when you shame them, they reduce in level so that they become your level, so that then you can capture them, because you can only capture things up to whatever level you're at. So I went in there and I beat his ass, and then I shamed him, and he got brought down to my level. And then once you do that, they run away and they appear somewhere else inside of the zone. And then you have to go hunt them down, do a little, like, you know, either like it's a little tracking mission, or like you have to draw them out somehow, or something like that. And then you find him again. So then I found him again, and then he had an ability called Iron Will. And what Iron Will does is it disallows him from being recruited. So even though he was my level, I couldn't recruit him. But I could shame him again and have a chance to get rid of that Iron Will ability. So I shamed him again. I found him a third time. He's still at Iron Will. I shamed him again. When I shamed him the third time, instead of reducing his level and getting rid of Iron Will, he gained 22 levels and became, it's not deranged, it's the other one, a maniac. Now, those don't mean anything to you except for when I tell you the fact that I was level 35 at the time. So he went from 30 to 52. And also, he then couldn't speak anymore because he was a maniac. So all he did, and I'm going to recreate this, he just goes with his teeth constantly. That's all he does. He doesn't make any noise except for that. And it is one of the most frightening things I've ever seen in a video game in my entire life.
What helmet did he have? That's the real question.
I don't remember. But eventually I shamed him down to my level again and captured him, because gotta catch them all.
Pokemon.
Dude, exactly. If you played Pokemon, this is adult Pokemon. In a lot of ways. 100%.
With slavery. Sounds like my kind of game.
Correct. It's called Domination, so it's slightly better. But yeah, no, it's basically slavery.
I don't know if
that's
Domination
not like normal
sounds
Pokemon.
better.
I mean, exactly. That is basically exactly like Pokemon. I don't know what we're...
In Pokemon, you literally beat the shit out of something until it follows you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't even kill it. Like, you beat the shit out of it, then it faints, and you're like, alright, I'll come back and get it later.
Right,
you beat the shit out of it again.
You literally have to beat it to within an inch of its life.
I mean, I figure that the Pokemon are all just massive drama queens. They're not in any actual danger. They just really like a theatrical fight.
You know, that I like your version of it. I think that's great.
Doesn't sound as fun.
I don't know. It means that the world is populated by these like unkillable, immortal, fey-like beings that are just fucking with you and pretending that you're their leader because it amuses them.
I mean, look at Pikachu in the anime, right? Like, it's a perfect example of what basically all Pokemon are.
God, don't talk to me about... Whenever I think of Pokemon, I remember the movie.
Which first one? Okay.
The one with
the good one then, huh?
Yeah, like where Ash gets turned to stone and then...
Dude, I love...
Like, no!
They Care Bear stare him back to life.
Yeah, exactly. I love the image of, like... I don't know if you've ever seen that post. It's from... I think it's from Tumblr. Where it's, like, got the picture of Ash's, like, stone body lying on the ground. And it's like... This motherfucker Ash walked up to the most powerful being in the universe and tried to punch a motherfucker. And it was talking about how Ash is so badass. It's hilarious. I'll find it and I'll post it. It's pretty fucking hilarious. But yeah, no, Shadow of War. If you're into semi-open world, collectible, go do like massive siege missions, but also like stealthy. It also mixes a little bit of like Assassin's Creed in there for sure. I get very big Assassin's Creed vibes from some of the, because like gotta capture the towers and then you can look at things. Actually, like almost exactly like Dragon Age Inquisition in that regard. But it's the same mechanics you've seen in all the other games. It's just Lord of the Rings, and you can capture people to fight for you, and it's Lord of the Rings, so it's pretty awesome. Anything else, Brian, that's been going on with you?
No, that's my life.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Megan.
Also, three-man betrayals on War Chiefs. Just saying.
Yeah, no, betrayals are great. You can have your orcs infiltrate War Chiefs and then have them betray them when you go to attack them. It's pretty great. Megan, hi, hello.
Hi, hello.
How are you? How's your week been?
My week is far better this week than last week. It was a bit of a hot mess last week, so I apologize, but I am much better this week. Holding it together. Minus the fact that my classroom was infested with bees this week. Everything was fine.
Oh my god, that's the most horrifying thing ever.
That sounds like an amazing learning opportunity.
I don't think my 6th graders took it that way, but okay.
Well, people often don't like learning opportunities when they're presented with them.
You know, good point.
You are correct.
Most people learn from failure even, so they definitely don't like learning opportunities.
This is a true statement. But yeah, I don't know. There's this huge hornet's nest in one of my windows and the adjacent classroom's windows. And they just started infesting our entire little area of the building. And it was just hornets for days, man. And you think that one single hornet can cause havoc when there's 5 or 6 of them and the 6th graders are just screaming, losing their minds, trying to focus. Yeah, it's fun times. It's like a freaking cartoon. It's like what it is. At least, somebody did mention, though, at least it wasn't spiders. And that is true. That is a true statement. It could have been worse.
not to beat the dead horse. Megan, you can never play that game, Shadow of War, by the way.
Why?
There are so many spiders.
Okay.
There are spiders in almost every single part of the game ever.
Yep. I summon spiders.
Yeah, exactly. Like, first of all, one of the main characters is Shelob, who's the giant spider, who's also an extremely attractive woman, apparently.
Booyah!
Well, she's also like a vision granter, right? She's like some powerful being that, is kind of tied to the world in the same way that like Gandalf and all them are. But there's her. But then also like some of the orcs. One of my favorite orcs ever was he was of the Brood was his tag, and he wore spider webs, and he had the ability to summon spiders during a fight.
My god, why? Why is that a thing? Why does that exist?
Exactly. So you can never play that game. Just FYI. I'm forewarning you. You're welcome.
It exists because you angered someone.
Apparently. Apparently that has occurred. Yeah. So, and I also went to see a comedian last weekend, Kyle Kinane. It's kind of a big deal, I guess.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, he's written and been on Aqua Teen, Adventure Time, Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
He does stand up and stuff. Generally, like that's where he started. But he's fucking hilarious. So that was a good time.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah, so that's it.
Well, that's fantastic. Short, sweet, and to the point. I like it. Liam, hello.
Howdy.
Last but certainly not least, how have you been?
I've been all right. It's a little boring because my best friend has moved out of town, so haven't got nearly as much to do on a day-to-day basis. But I still have other friends here, so that's survivable. The process of applying for jobs with the provincial government is agonizingly slow.
Yep. Welcome to government.
But that searching continues. I had a visit from my grandmother, who's 102.
Hold on.
Have to continue getting her favors so that she will continue to bless me with the power of her bloodline.
Wait, so hold on. You got a visit from your 102-year-old grandmother came to visit you, not the other way around.
Well, my mother was visiting her, and the city that my grandmother lives in is 2 hours away, so she just decided it would be easier to drive here
My immediate thought was like your 102-year-old grandmother in like hiking gear showing up at your house.
You know, that's not that far from accurate. You're like a decade off.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds correct. My grandmother lived to 103, so
Very nice.
Well, actually, my great grandmother, I should say, lived to 103.
Yeah, she was. I mean, I say she was bragging, but really every statement that she makes is effectively bragging because she's just making remarks about totally mundane facts about her life, like how her 18th great grandchild was born this year. It's like, who racks that kind of tally up?
Amazing.
Anyway, I have no opinion on or interest in the new Lord of the Rings game, except that I feel like they need to stop making Lord of the Rings games that aren't really about anything in Lord of the Rings. Like just make a new IP.
Oh boy!
If you need Shelob to be a hot woman, don't write in Lord of the Rings. Make your own generic fantasy setting.
So we have a purist among us, I see.
Okay. I actually care about what Tolkien's point was, is all.
No, I totally get it, and I get why people like don't like it. The one thing I can say, though, is I am glad that the game developers themselves said, listen, guys, this is a brand new story. Like, this has nothing to do. We're not trying to change anything. We just have a direction that we want to go in to make it compelling for a more, modern audience.
Just make a new IP. It's not that hard. People do it all the time.
We're making some fan fiction over here, okay, guys?
Right. It's basically what they said. It's basically what they said.
They're doing it only for the brand name recognition, and that irritates me.
I can see that. I can see why that irritates you. And you know what?
But
I would assume
from that, I have no opinion on the game.
I would assume that that's a WB thing, not the actual developers. I'm sure if the actual developers were to ask, they'd be like, "Yeah, let's make our own thing. It'd be great."
Yeah.
But again, I think you also run into the problem of if you make something like based off of something else and it's too similar, you get called out on it. It's almost sometimes better just to be like, listen, guys, we cloned Lord of the Rings and we made our own story. Here you
go. There's room for reinterpretations and reboots and all, but yeah, oh well.
No, but anyway, trust me, you are not alone in that.
Yeah. We're saving Middenheim, right? I'm excited about saving Middenheim. I'm pretty sure that we're about to have something really horrible happen, and I want to see Jackson do it.
Yeah. So last time on Siege, we had a bit of a we had gotten into a bit of a kerfluffle, which is my new favorite word. In reference to in the immediate outside of the temple, basically we were assaulting the Temple of Ulrich, right? Like that was the goal was we need to take the temple. Because not only is it like one of the key points in the entire city, but in addition to that, it houses a powerful necromancer with this giant magical object that has some sort of, crazy power around it. In addition, this individual is also known to do crazy ritualistic magic that may or may not be like world-shattering. So we should probably deal with him as soon as possible. In the interest of the safety of literally everyone ever. So, with that being said, a couple of you had elected, and by a couple I mean Jericho and Hannibal had elected to infiltrate the temple under the guise of being undead themselves, while the rest of the party attempted to provide a distraction, but also, eventually you gotta clear the Norsemen out of the city, right? And what better way to do it than just attacking them? So the rest of you were kind of outside dealing with that, and I think that just to kind of put it out there in everyone's mind, there are some things that are going to happen, right? Like there's going to be some things that happen here, and I want to just remind everybody that staying and fighting is not always what you need to do. Just throwing that out there. For everyone to listen. That's the only thing I'll say about it.
I wonder who that's directed at.
We are kind of spoiled for choice there.
So we were working on an initiative order simply to just kind of keep the flow and keep the pacing correct between the battle raging outside, which is obviously taking few minutes and stuff like that. in between rounds, and then the kind of infiltration discovery of different things. One thing that was discovered is there was some either weird ritual or murder covered up by supposed weird ritual or something that had happened inside of the Temple of Ulrich that the two of you encountered, along with a couple of your NPC friends are with you as well. And in addition to that, you had kind of scoped out the area, found that there was the necromancer, the head necromancer over all things ever, was standing and like reading from this tome, which Jericho, you'd seen before, but Hannibal, this is your first time seeing it. It's a large tome, probably about the size of perhaps a large phone book, but maybe a little bit taller. And it flips open, and you can tell like it looks leather bound, but the edges of the leather are like ragged, and they don't like they're not very neatly like stitch in like you would assume like a leather bound book is. Also, it appears like there are like multiple pieces of leather that are kind of stitched together to make this cover. You guys have never seen the actual cover of it. You just see kind of it's sticking up over its little pedestal thing.
Must be made out of a lot of cows.
And the book is open, and the yellowed like parchment, is flipped through. And again, it's massive. There appears to be very detailed illustrations and drawings from the ability that you've been able to use to see it. And the other significant point about that is there is this large dome, essentially, that appears to be centered on the book itself, of abjuration magic. You haven't really been able to determine what exactly it is, what exactly spell or effect is currently ongoing, but there is that, and walking into a situation like that unknown is probably not a great idea, perhaps. So there's been some investigatory work to try and figure out exactly what that might be. And that's all happening inside the church, while outside of the church, Morella leading the group of veterans, basically like the knights but foot soldiers, right? The knights without horses at this point, leading the group of veterans in a skirmish through the city streets with one of the Norseman ranks. Aelin riding next to Cahill, as he leads the heavily armored knights, kind of like a frontal assault on the two like large groups of Norsemen in front of them. And then we have Farron, who is leading the bear riders, on a like kind of flanking charge, but kind of like the cleanup charge, around the outside and through the city streets. Because as we've determined, like fighting with bears in the streets is actually really, really cool, because in the alleyways, only so many men can encircle them, right? Like only so many people can get around a big ass bear in an alleyway. So the bear actually has an advantage in these narrow, tighter corridors. And the one thing that you guys outside know is that you are outnumbered, certainly. The numbers are probably 2-1 in favor of the Norsemen. But fortunately for you, you're much better equipped. You're probably not as savage as them. But you are much better equipped, and you're much better coordinated, too. Because Norsemen are traditionally just like I'm going to beat them over head with my club as hard as possible. They don't usually use a whole lot of tactics, which is where all of you little champions come in. Also, not to miss somebody who had a very epic moment in the last session. Kree actually, during his duel in the last session, ended up killing what is kind of to be known now as the leader of these Norsemen. Ended up slaying him. Acold Hellbrass was his name. And as he slew the giant, his mount like disintegrated, kind of revealing that it was a spirit beast of some sort that was directly tied to Acold himself. And I forget, because you probably said like this, or you probably would have done this, so I'll just ask Kree. Did you like take Acold's head?
His whole body is currently in Nock's mouth.
Right, you brought like Nock like brought him back,
and his head is on my lance.
Sure,
Obviously.
Sure.
Obviously.
Yeah. So obviously Noct can't ride into battle with that in his mouth, but you deposit him back in the West Gatehouse, which the good guys, quote unquote, control at this point. And I think that we're gonna go through the rest of this particular turn order, and then we're going to have something happen. So I'm gonna move everybody to their respective pages because we're all we're kind of split up here. You're there, the rest of you.
Oh yeah, you had that new dynamic shit.
Yeah. So there's also the new Advanced Fog of War that reveals the map, but doesn't reveal what's on it after you've seen it. So it's actually a pretty cool feature and function there.
Also, why is okay? There it goes. I was gonna ask, why is the map unfocused?
Yeah, no, it looked like Roll20 took a little bit to load there because it took me a little bit to load as well. However, everything should be good. Let me know if it's not, and I'll press it. But if you look at the turn order, the persons to go appear to all be kind of outside for a little bit. So we're gonna work our way through this battle a little bit. And just as a reminder as well, mostly for myself because I forget things. I need to mark Cahill because he has a power on him that he may not be aware of. That seems most appropriate right there. Is it resist death? What is the name of that spell?
Death Ward.
Death Ward. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has Death Ward, which basically means he has a second life, right? Like he literally like bounces back up from the dead. Which is great and extremely powerful for obvious reasons, especially on NPCs who are supposed to die as soon as they reach 0.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
So that being said, first in the turn order is the Knights, and the Knights leading their full frontal charge here are engaged with both like units of the Norsemen you're fighting. So I think it's probably most appropriate, since they get 2 attacks, to split those up. They're just kind of hacking and slashing and being the tanks that everyone knows they can be. So let me pull up them real quick. They are nice. Cool, yeah. So they get their 2 attacks. So the first one's going to be on the one on the left, the second one on the one on the right, and they're using their long swords. Okay, fantastic. So the first one actually they don't hit with a full blow here, unfortunately. They only hit with partial blows because again we're dealing with like hundreds of units at a time. So I'm doing some very quick and crude math to make this as even as possible, right? But they do end up taking out some. It's just not as effective as it could be, obviously. So their second attack, however, is quite successful. And takes out quite a bit of these nasty units, weakening them up for the Bear Riders to kind of make their big swipes. The Bear Riders actually, Farron, your unit does quite a bit of damage, but you're not very tanky. That's kind of your shtick, as it were.
Yeah.
But the Knights crash in and do it almost exactly as you would expect. They're throwing the enemy into disarray more than actually dealing like hefty damage to them, which is totally fine. That's what they're, this is exactly what they're here for, is to do that sort of thing. Also, I realized that I don't have Cahill on this turn, and I think he's just supposed to go on the Knight's turn. So, with that being said,
Yeah,
I think I said that. Yeah, I think I said that, but then I didn't like actually follow through with any of that. So he gets his own 2 attacks, which is pretty great. Oh, it's saving throws. Okay. I was sorry. I was looking at one of his abilities that he has, because he has some cool abilities. So he's using his longsword as well. Well, okay then. He's gonna deal a hefty blow and begin cutting the enemy down in their ranks quite rapidly. He actually does probably almost as much damage by himself, because he is a maniac in combat, as the rest of his knights as they charge and careen through them. There you go. Fantastic. Which brings us to, so the next up are going to be these Norsemen right here. They're just gonna roll a 1d2 just to see which unit they attack, just because I can't make all the decisions here, right? We gotta let the dice decide. Okay, so Marilla, they're engaging your veterans. She's not here. I don't know why I'm talking to her. They're engaging the veterans that Marilla is leading. And by she, I mean he, as Dalton, in case anyone was curious about that.
I was.
I know, that was actually only specifically for you, Jackson. No one else was confused, but I wanted to make sure you were on the same page.
Good to be part of the team.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate all of your laughter always, because you are you are at the very least consistent, sir, and I really do appreciate that.
I don't believe in pity laughs, so.
So luckily for the veterans, these guys are not great at like landing blows. They're still going to cause some damage, but it's certainly not going to be the amounts in which they really wanted. Oh wait. Right, and the veterans. Let me pull them up. I really should pull all these things up before the game, but I just don't remember to do that. That seems hard. Okay, yeah. So some of the veterans are falling here, but certainly still okay to keep fighting. Without regard for much. Morella, however, it is technically her turn, and I think that for Morella, she's going to try. She's going to try it first. To rally the troops here, I think is probably like the first thing to make sure that they are within realm. And let's see. Well, that's not what I want. Sorry, I was looking at the new spells here because all of you got new spells, and I kind of know what you got, but I do want to make sure that I'm realm there. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Marilla's gonna try. We're gonna roll a performance check here. We're gonna see if Marilla is decently good. She doesn't have Farron at her back, so this might not end as well as probably she wants it to. But we'll see. I have roll 20 hacks, except for apparently my game on Thursday. I did not have hacks in that game. 16's not bad though. 16 not bad. So I think that I will give the veterans advantage on their first attack because of that. Let me go ahead and mark them with that. That seems pretty. Alright, a little lightning bolt. And then Marilla's going to obviously make her attack here. She's got so many attacks, I don't even know which one she actually uses. I think it's this. Good. So Marilla cuts down multiples of these individuals with impunity, just stabbing multiples at a time and kicking them over and throwing them off rooftops and slamming their heads into walls and just being the beast that she is in combat, as per the norm. So next it's the Bear Riders, last but certainly not least in the turn order. So Farron, they're engaged with this group. They can simply just attack, but you're in control of them. You're the commander here. Is there anything special you think they should do? Any cool features that you think they should have, or should they just be barreling in and doing as much damage as humanly possible?
Yeah, I think for now they can just wail down upon them. So.
All right, I will let the wailing commence. Too bad that is a low roll there. But certainly still dealing damage. Again, even a miss in this type of combat is still going to deal damage, right?
Yeah.
So, I apologize if you can hear that. I have my cats separated right now because they're being assholes and fighting each other. And one of them, since I have 3, one of them wants to be in both places, and she can't. It's just not going to happen. So just bear with me one moment. Yeah, you deal some decent damage to these guys. They are probably at about like 4/5 or maybe even 3/4 of their health. or their status remaining from these massive bear attacks. So, excellent. So the bears are highly successful in their assault, leaping down from buildings and ripping these men apart, and multiple bears like using men in their mouths to hit other men and kill them. It's just a slaughter for them right now. They're doing very well. Which brings us to the top of the order. Now, before I get into Farron's turn, I want to see where Kree falls. So, Kree, your experience in this entire kind of engagement has been, you've been on your way, right? After the battle last night, there was obviously some recovery that had to be done. Your long rest obviously was, it ended much later than everybody else's long rest because you started it so much later. So you've been kind of playing catch up for this whole time. But I want you to roll me initiative for you and Noct. And I will say that whichever one of you gets to start, or whichever one of you gets highest, that is when you will come in, basically.
So it's an 8.
Was that with advantage?
I only use the advantage on important fights.
Oh, is that a thing you have to like turn on and off? I thought it was just all the time.
No, I always get it. Just
Okay.
It doesn't feel right to always use it.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, sir. That's why you're my favorite player.
Wow.
You use that phrase a lot.
I know, I use it on literally everyone, just because I like to make everybody feel equally unimportant.
Appreciate it.
As is my job. Until somebody else does something awesome, Kree, you are my favorite player. So I think that the 8 is reflective of you guys. You're still moving a little slow. Maybe your injuries are kind of nagging at you a little bit. Because it was a pretty tough fight. You got knocked around a little bit, and Noct definitely got knocked around a little bit too. It wasn't all sunshine and roses. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It was nighttime and gravestones. So, thank you. God.
So edgy.
I know, right? Sorry, I've been reminiscing a lot about anime today, and then that's kind of what brought that up. I'm just gonna go full edgelord on you guys. I apologize in advance. However, Farron McKibe, it is your turn.
Okay. Can I roll a perception check to see how the current state of the fighting is going?
Yes. I think perception and investigation will get you different things here. Perception will give you maybe how numbers are doing. Investigation might give you, I think insight is also probably applicable here, right? Investigation would probably get you maybe if have the advantage tactically, and then insight might give you kind of inform you on the morale of the units. So I think you can choose one, whichever kind of the situation you want to apply it to here.
I mean, yes, but insight is 2, investigation is 1.
So
perception is 8.
Yeah,
so...
you want to get a rough evaluation of numbers here.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
19.
Still rolled an 11. It's great. Yay, D20 systems. So with a 19, that's pretty good, and I think that you realize very quickly that while you may be outnumbered, the fact that they're kind of the units are being split and they're not really sure how to fight, and they're disorganized. Your bear riders are still the most weakened, but the unit that they are attacking are taking way more losses than the bear riders are currently. That makes sense. Their health is decreasing at a more rapid rate than the bear riders is.
Okay.
So your side of the fight seems to be going well. It's kind of hard to tell on the other side of the fight. You're probably embroiled in combat yourself. But the other side of the fight appears to be kind of at a gridlock, I would say, as far as pure numbers. And once maybe it gets down a little bit lower, you'll be able to get a more definitive feel for it, but for now that's what you got.
Sure. yeah, then I don't feel the need to get out the big guns yet.
Yeah.
So.
Clearly.
Wow, you really didn't feel the need.
All right, that's all from me, guys. I'll see you next week.
I'm gonna take my bear and go.
Oh man,
3 ones.
4 ones
I mean,
if
that's
you count
like
the damage.
impressive.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
impressive, really.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh, holy sweet Jesus.
Hey,
It's
We
possible
left-
that some of the enemy forces hurt themselves laughing.
Yeah, no. I think that Farron, you're up on a rooftop, right? Like maybe you tell Bernadette to like climb up on a rooftop so you can like survey the grounds, right? And then like you see like a little pack of enemies like, you know, kind of stalking through the alleyway, and you're like, all right, let's go get them, Bernadette. And she like leaps down, right? And then you like lose your footing and like slide under the saddle comically. And like have to like right yourself while they're like, I think they're all just like looking at you like, what the hell is going on here? And they're not sure what to do. They don't know if you're serious or not, Aaron.
Yeah,
To put it mildly.
I think because of my major fuck up, whilst one of the other bear riders has to take a hit, whilst I have to right my saddle.
Yeah.
So I heal him back up.
Yeah, or maybe it's Bernadette herself.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, like maybe Bernadette takes a hit, like is now defending you as you're like trying to get back into the saddle, and ends up getting like, you know, sliced across the haunches or something, and you have to like heal her real quick. Fantastic. Good showing from Farron already. I like it. Next is Aelin Ash River. I must ask, are you still at Cahill's side, like in the mix? Because he would be in the mix. Okay.
No.
All right. All right. Just checking.
I have full confidence that he's going to be okay,
Right.
based on my previous action, at least for the moment. Even though it is hard to follow the comedy team of Farron and Bear, I think that Aelin would probably be riding kind of like up and down the very back lines.
Sure.
Trying to inspire those who have fallen off or fallen down, gotten injured, to get back up and continue fighting. So, I mean, obviously this, but then also, you know, I want to try to do some.
Yeah. So as a reminder, like healing is gonna be like getting people back into the fight here, right? Like it works actively on the people who are injured, you know, because you could do some healing spells and get some people back up and moving. But Beacon of Hope is great. So each target has advantage on wisdom saving throws and death saving throws, regains the maximum number of hit points possible for any healing. Okay, fantastic. And that's just kind of around you, and because you're actively moving through it, I think it could probably just apply to all of the things.
Okay,
It's
yeah, because I'm
totally
like kind
cool.
of thinking I'm like riding just back and forth, kind of up and down, trying to keep the back line strong.
Yeah,
and
maybe like
stuff.
mounted riders who are like limping off, maybe like help them out, like out of the fight, and then or heal them and get them back in.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, no, I think your beacon can apply, even though it's only 30 feet. We do abstracted stuff during this. It can apply to basically all units within this combat right now. So awesome. It's fantastic. The advantage on wisdom saving throws is real good, I think. Seems real good.
Yeah, there you go.
So next is actually Morella's veterans. Because she so artfully inspired them, they get 3 attacks, which is pretty cool. So the first one will have advantage, and the other 2 will be normal. It was a useful advantage. Good. They are, however, doing just swell. They're having the time of their lives.
Jesus.
Um,
Was that last one meant to be a short sword?
yeah. So the veterans, like, this is straight out of the book. They dual wield a long sword and a short sword.
Oh, kick ass.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They are pretty good. But that is quite a bit of damage. Especially since, well, see, like, the disadvantage here is, like, they do a lot of damage, but they have, like, way fewer units than anybody else. But they are in their element. And, Baron, if you were to roll a perception check, you would see that, like, there is a bloody carved path through the opposing line over here now. That particular like onslaught, being as strong as you guys see the dice rolls there, is particularly effective, and they're carving huge swaths out of the enemy forces. Because each one of those veterans is worth easily 2 or 3 of the other people, which is great because, like I said, you guys were outnumbered, so you kind of need that. You guys went for quality over quantity in this fight, which seems to be working to your advantage here. So that's great. So next is Jericho.
Woo.
So we move briefly back into the into this this cathedral, Ulrich's temple, that you have entered into. And just to give a brief rundown, because we all can see the map because of this cool, awesome new lighting system. Thank you, Roll20. Appreciate that. Something we've been asking for a lot. Now, if you could just make it so I can put actual windows where people can't move through them, but they can see through them, I would just be your friend forever. #ad, or whatever you want to say it is. So this bathroom over here was the one where there was all that like blood and like that weird symbol on the ground.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. I'm sure nothing has changed there. And you guys had investigated the bedroom area, which was probably like, as you guys assumed, like a high priest or somebody who would live here essentially, which is basically only those. And in addition to that, the group of you had come over here and you discovered that there was like this kind of conference area here, where it's very clear like priests and priestess and paladins would meet and discuss the ongoing things for Ulrich, whatever they may be. It also should be noted that this is like a pretty high class area. Like it would not be far for it to serve a lord or a lady should they arrive at the temple. So maybe this is also kind of a VIP meeting area as well. You guys hadn't got like a good chance to explore this. But that's obviously something you could do, roll investigation, try to figure things out. But I think immediately...
Is the relative disarray on the map accurate?
Yes, yeah, and that's actually what I was just about to bring up, is the relative disarray is accurate. There's these vases that are toppled over. There are tables that are, chairs that are pushed aside and toppled over. Tables that are broken. All the plants are dead, right? Like all these plants stuff here, they look like they haven't been watered. They've all just withered away into nothing. Because they probably haven't been watered in weeks at this point.
Those monsters.
I know.
Bastards.
Anything but
Birds have lives.
Anything but the plant life.
I mean, killing plants is kind of Hannibal's thing, but...
When have I ever killed a plant?
To be fair, Hannibal
You're a big fan of blight?
That's true. You are a big fan of blight.
I've never used that on plants, and I never will.
Fascinating morality.
See? Now, this is the part of the game where we all learn that Hannibal's actually a tree hugger.
Anyway.
In addition, this is the door right here, right? Like this is where the door leads out. And you know that just outside of there sits a hunter, right? That's what he was described as. Kind of that weird advanced undead creature. With some form of sentience, right? Like he spoke. He spoke with you, and I think that like you all were trying to deceive him, and not only did it appear that he was able to like see right through whatever your disguise was, which you seeming, right, like the level 5. To
so
do
that's serious shit.
Yeah, and it should also be mentioned that there's like 40 to 50 other dudes and dudettes and various fighters that are hidden like throughout this compound, right? Like they're probably on the outside right now, but they're like waiting for the signal to attack.
And the signal is for when seeming drops.
Right, exactly.
Because if they started fighting with seeming on, there's going to be some casualties.
1 second.
Okay. Man,
what do you want? In or out? You choose right now.
No cat will ever make that choice, Jordan.
You're asking for too much.
Holy shit. That was driving me absolutely bananas. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but she was just constantly fucking.
We could hear that you were trying to make a cat make the unmakeable choice.
Well, she decided in when I kicked her, so that's what she gets now.
Rude.
So
Okay, so we may as well see if we can work out about who got murdered here most recently.
after that too, I think we also made the decision that after we do this, we need to walk around the balcony.
Yeah,
There's nowhere else to go.
The attempt is to be like sneaky and maybe like try and go around.
But first, let's roll an investigation or whatever.
Yeah, so do you want to like search the room, see kind of like the state of it and what's been going on?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be investigation checks from whoever wants to make one.
Sure as I am.
Not bad for the 20.
Yeah, I have a character sheet.
Yeah, that's a thing that we use in Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
Shit.
So, would investigating be the only relevant thing here? I guess it would make sense. I mean, we are trying to piece together a crime scene, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if you had another viable option, I would totally allow that as well.
Nothing leads to mind.
How about perception?
Yeah, I mean, like...
See, like, if somebody's been there recently, or...
Yeah.
See, there's something that seems odd. Like, just... Or investigation would be more technical, like, there were stuff here. It's like, perception would be like, these people, it seemed this happened rather quickly, or something like that, you know?
I have a spray bottle. I'm not afraid to use it.
I don't even know if you're talking to the cat anymore.
Yeah.
Please let it be him talking to a person.
Yeah, it'd be to me, if anybody. Boys, the investigation would be more technical, while perception would be more abstract things, like maybe, I don't know, like, obviously the people here were very tense or something.
I'll tell you what the investigation rolls get you, and then you can decide if you want to do something else with it, obviously.
Okay.
So the investigation rolls here, Hannibal, you're able to determine that this place is definitely more used than the bedroom and bathroom were. I think you can see what probably remains of a meal that was eaten here. Probably not today, but maybe like yesterday. You can tell that the chairs, there's not like a thin layer of dust that sits over everything. Obviously some things like the benches and stuff have a thin layer of dust that sit over them, but the chairs and stuff, they appear to be recently, or at least sometime within the past couple of days, used, which is maybe important, maybe not, who knows. I think differently though, these broken vases, they appear to have just kind of been left there. Nobody appears to have cleaned up. They appear to have been there for a while. The dirt, because they used to hold plants, right? Just like all these other vases and stuff around, or vases, whatever you want. I don't know what the word is. The dirt is very dry and crumbles in your hand, and the plants are all withered, and it's just, dirt on the ground, basically. Interesting thing that I think, and that's all stuff you notice as well, Jericho. An interesting thing that you get, Hannibal, though, is that the way the chairs are positioned, it very much appears like, and you can see this on the map as well, it very much appears like there may have been one or two individuals on this side talking to another group of individuals, which may clue you in, like, since it was used recently, there was obviously some type of meeting, etc., etc.
There's a meeting between two parties.
Yeah, between two parties, or possibly between, like, the leader of a party, right? Like, or the leader or leaders of a party is also acceptable, I think, to assume here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, either of those two things are totally viable.
Okay. Is there any documents just lying around?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any documents. It's very clear that whatever happened here was, like, over a meal. And everything's still kind of left here. And I would say that maybe it looks like it was left here kind of in a hurry. There's not, like, plates smashed all over the place, but you can tell, like, especially the chairs, like, the chairs that where the fewer chairs are kind of, like, shoved back from the table pretty far. Almost as if somebody had to, like, leap up from a chair or something like that. Okay,
in that case, the food on the plates.
Yeah.
The group Are they different drastically from each side? Like, does one side have a very specific dish while the other does not?
Interesting. I think that this would be a survival check.
Shit.
Yeah, you could request Jericho's assistance here though. Like if you want to tell him what you're thinking, so that he has some semblance of assisting.
So Jericho, Jericho. My thought is we could possibly identify who's there by what they're eating. For instance, I imagine different regions have different things they want to eat.
Possibly, although I don't know how much they'd have their choice of what to eat in a time like this. Still, I mean, sure, I can lend my culinary knowledge to you.
Okay, I'd like to assist him because I'm willing to bet anything he has a higher survival than me.
I don't know, what's yours?
+1.
Okay.
Alright, so you lend your assistance to Jericho. Wow, a 19. Nice. Good roll. So very clearly the seats that are where the 4 seats are, you can see the remains of like cured meats. You would probably consider it to be travel food, right? Like people who are traveling a lot, and you guys have been on the road yourselves quite a bit. This is like the stuff, the energy food that keeps you going. It's not really suited to a meal like what you see kind of depicted here. You know, there's probably maybe some remnants of some cheeses. If you pick up like the goblets that are there, you probably smell the faint like tinge of wine in them. But like a very kind of low grade, I would say, Jericho. And that's definitely something Jericho would identify, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so it's some sort of low grade wine coming from those goblets.
The vampire was here.
Is that... We don't yet know that she's a wine vampire.
Also, she doesn't drink low grade anything, for being fair.
That's true. Is that the case for all of them?
No. So I think that you notice distinctly that whoever was sitting here doesn't have any settings in front of them. There's no food, there's no goblet, there's no whatever. Whoever was sitting there chose not to partake in whatever meal that was going on here.
But what about the plate right there?
You know what? That's probably a dirty plate that somebody placed there, like as they were maybe up walking around and eating.
Okay.
But it appears to be the same kind of cured smoked meats that the rest of these plates over here are.
Okay.
However, over here, there is probably the remnants of a fine meal, is if we were to describe it. In fact, you probably see like the picked over bones of a rack of ribs, right? And there's probably some various juices that smell vaguely like butter, vegetables. And if you had to guess, you would say that it is much more fancy than anybody but a lord or a lady would eat.
Okay.
To describe it in kind of various terms without going into great detail, because that doesn't really matter. You just need to know what type of food it is.
Okay. So in that case, it'd be something like a high priest or higher ups in a religious society talking to a bunch of adventurers?
Possibly. It's a good assumption, I think. Or I should say valid.
That or... Well... I mean, if we're looking at someone who doesn't eat or doesn't need to eat, and someone with fine tastes talking to a bunch of people with practical tastes, I would imagine it would be the necromancer, perhaps Anders and Norseman. But they scattered quickly, presumably too long ago for this to have been anything to do with our current assault.
And a thing to mention too, these seats over here, these don't look like it's exactly like it looks right here, right?
Yeah. Yep. What you see is what you get.
So the people on the left side were obviously more in a hurry than the ones on the right.
Possibly. Where do you think?
Also,
so you think they've fled somewhere and left the Norsemen here to defend?
Maybe. Also, the person over here, one guy's a fat ass because he had 2 plates.
Correct. Valid assumption.
That's not... Anyway... Whoever they are, they don't seem to be here now. Well, obviously they're not here now, but they don't seem to have been here recently. They left and didn't bother coming back for anything.
True. This might be a dead end, at least here. I think it's time we turn to the door. Move on.
Dramatically.
Well, that's unnecessarily ominous.
Well, I'm sorry. We're about to sneak past a fucking necromancer.
Yeah, so quiet. Now, question, do we think it's worth turning invisible first? Because I can handle that pretty quickly.
Yeah, that'd probably be for the best, honestly.
Do your 3 followers get to go invisible as well?
They're staying here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
You guys, stay here. Me and Jericho will check this shit out.
You're going to sit on the bench.
Jericho will specifically say to Silney in her preferred dialect, pointing to John, ensure that nothing ill befalls him.
I think she replies with, and of the big woman.
She'll handle herself.
She just nods.
Good to know my John is pulling his weight. My NPC is
Maybe
fucking...
you shouldn't expect him to cast level 5 spells after you leave him on his own in a box for an afternoon.
Listen, it's been like a week. Can't you have learned something cool by then?
You know, in D&D terms, that could be level 1 to 20, if we're being fair.
That's... How... There are so many things wrong with that state. Right, so Jericho will use a level 3 spell slot to turn himself and Hannibal invisible.
Yeah.
Shazam.
Awesome. So you 2 invisible lads. I'm going to move it over to Hannibal's turn, because Hannibal's next. Just to kind of move it along, quote unquote. So Hannibal, it is your turn now.
Okay, so you ready for this?
Yeah, go for it. I'm
Let's
so
go.
ready.
I'm terrified that he's talking to me.
I am.
Yes, I'm ready. Well, I think I'm ready. I'm not sure what you're planning exactly.
I don't have one.
I'll take the lead.
You can if you want. I don't know how that's going to help.
So again, we see this dull glow coming from the book, right? With this individual standing here, just kind of perusing the pages.
And real quick, is my detect magic's probably done by now, would you say?
I would say you guys have probably spent more than 10 minutes, yeah. Just kind of meandering about and investigating.
Yeah, and it's a little bit too hectic to try to do it again, so I'm gonna just leave it, off. But we could see this aura, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's visible. Yep, for sure.
This
At the moment, I feel like I can see 2 distinct auras, but
it's because the fog of war is blocking your vision for here. If you move forward, you'll see it's all one big circle.
Okay, cool.
All right, so
Left
I
or
say,
right?
Okay, I'm flipping a coin.
In game or in character?
In real life.
Okay.
All right. Heads or tails?
Jericho just starts moving left.
Heads. We're going left. Okay.
Good. So, you can see that just on the edge of the orb, there's a door right here.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible that you guys could like squeeze by without touching the orb. Just FYI.
Yeah,
I assume that might be a priority.
Yeah, if we can try to not touch that aura, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would have just let you guys walk into it if you wanted to, but
yeah,
like,
no,
we
we've
don't
already done
want
that
to do
once.
that.
Thanks.
So you like, Jericho, you do the thing where like you tap the handle and like slowly open it because it opens, it opens this way, right? It opens this way. So yeah, you slowly like kind of push it open, and then you slide past, being very careful not to touch the orb. And it doesn't actually come into here, but I just can't make it that way. It stops at the wall.
I understand. It's cool.
So in here you can see that there is it's another kind of guest room. This one definitely looks more guest roomy than the previous one that you guys were in. It is obviously meant for, maybe other resident priests or priestesses that come. Maybe it's for paladins in training. Could be for any number of things. And I think that distinctly in this room, for the first time since you've been here, it doesn't look turned over. It doesn't look like it's been rifled through or things have been uplifted and thrown about. The plant is still dead because nobody decided to water it. And there is a I'm on that's why you couldn't see that, because I was on the wrong layer. There is a door right here that you can see. You can see like the handle sticking out right here.
Okay.
All right. So
does this look used at all?
So it doesn't. I think it looks, regardless of how like the bed looks a little turned down, it looks like it's that way like on purpose, right? It looks like it's specifically tucked in to like look inviting, right?
Right.
But it looks very unused, and I think you can tell as well by like there's kind of a layer of dust on the ground, and as you walk you can see like you're kicking it up. It's got that feel like when you're in like an old musty library or something, and you can see like the dust particles kind of like floating about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of that feel.
Okay.
They could probably stop tithing if they just rented these rooms out on occasion.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is fucking fantastic. And I open this door.
Okay, yeah. So as you open the door, the sight before you looks like another
blood
restroom.
Everywhere.
Oh God!
No, it looks like another restroom. Again, by the way, this map isn't period. Just FYI.
The whore. This is a fucking toilet.
Yeah. So.
And it's in a bathtub.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a stand-up shower, technically, in the map, which obviously doesn't work. But I think that
Erica will not follow.
I think that what you do see, Hannibal, is you see that they're in the wall right here. I'm on the wrong layer again. In the wall right here, you can see that some of the stone has been like chipped away, and there's like a small opening like looking through it into the next whatever the room is behind it.
I found something, I say. Then I go over and check it out.
Yeah, so as you gaze through, you can see what looks like almost a mirror of the room you're currently in. It looks like another bathroom just on the other side of this wall. But these markings here, I can already tell you, like, they appear to be made with like a big hammer, right? Designed for breaking stone open. It looks like somebody was like trying to beat their way through this particular wall.
So does it look like somebody wanted to get into the other room as a means of escape, or just wanting to get into it?
That might require a check of some sort. Probably
Investigation?
Tell damage on a wall. Yeah, I think investigation probably is appropriate here.
Alright. Shakapla.
Okay.
Fuck.
So a lot of the debris that you see, I think, well, here, this is probably the one thing you get with a 12. The wooden beam that kind of runs through the stone is bent and cracked towards the other side, meaning that whatever hit it and struck it was going from where you are into the other room. That's the thing you get with a 12.
How big is the opening?
It's not very big. Arcadi might be able to squeeze through. And, if you guys cleared it out a little bit, maybe, like, if you spend some time taking some debris, but you would also create noise. But you can definitely see to the other side.
Okay. Arcadi.
not here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I know that was confusing.
Yeah, that was confusing.
I'm sorry. I apologize for not intentionally confusing you like that. I apologize.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck.
Well, look. Can you see anything through there?
Is there anything in there?
So it looks like it is mirrored. You can see though. Let me see if I can draw this accurately. Because the way the lines work.
Keep in mind, we can only see in that room.
Yeah, well, I wanted to. I do that. I'm just closing it off just for a second so that I can. And then
the darkness.
Not reveal anything. Oh no, it's a big old line. Okay, I'm going to just move over there for a moment.
Okay.
That seems the easiest. So, here's the other room, right? It's again an exact mirror. But what you can see is there is this door is ajar.
Shit.
And you can see into this other room, which again kind of looks like a mirror of the room you were just in. But that's just what you can see, right? You can't actually be in there, but at least you can see.
Well, fuck. I think I know what I gotta do.
Okay.
I grab Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to dimension door?
That seems excessive under the circumstances, but all right.
This is shit. I need to think about this because I only got. I use seeming.
So
yeah, this can't be the best idea. Surely we can just.
Remember, there's a whole other side to the balcony you can explore too that you haven't seen yet.
Oh, there is? Oh yeah, let's go over there then.
Maybe as a last resort.
Yeah.
So, I think that we'll stop your guys' turn there, your investigation.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move outside for a little bit. Bringing it to it's some of the enemy's turns. So again, remember all this time passing for the group of you outside is somewhat abstracted. You've probably been fighting actively, moving, maneuvering, and fighting for maybe 10 minutes or so, which is a long time in medieval combat. I don't know if you guys have ever seen reenactments and anything like that. 10 minutes in medieval combat is a long time. And with that being said, there's definitely some units that are starting to tire and starting to flag now. Not quite to the point where you guys are gonna have to start making any rolls or anything, but it is important to note kind of the state of things going on.